Hello, welcome to Blake's Den. I've had a few requests to do a part 2 on Project Dirt Bike, which is the barn find 125cc dirt bike. So here it is. Since I did the last video on this, it has done absolutely nothing other than sit in the garage and leak quite a lot of oil out the crankcase. I need to get this running. The two main jobs to do are fix the throttle cable and then replace the back tyre. So to replace the throttle cable, it was broken from the handle at the top here. I've actually removed the carburetor and I've got that on the worktop, and I'll show you how the throttle cable works. So here's the carburetor off the bike. This is the throttle cable here. At the end of the throttle cable there's a little knobble, and that goes in the handle and the grip, so that should slide in and out when the grip moves. On the actual carburetor itself, within there is a slide, which is a cylindrical piece of metal which moves up and down, so you can see that there, and I'll show you how that moves up and down. So with the carburetor held in the vise, just very gently, if we look up there, when I pull the throttle cable, you can see the throttle slide moving up, and then as I let go it springs back down into position. As I put the carburetor on, I noticed a bit of a problem. So this portion of the carburetor body has a threaded hole for the bolt to go through. But it was quite stripped and wasn't actually tightening up onto the gasket very well. So it actually looks like it's designed for a captive nut. So I've put in a M6 and half nut in there, and that seems to have nipped it up quite nicely. Also as well, the fuel pipe actually split. It was like a very brittle plastic. I guess just over the years it deteriorated. So I've replaced it with some fuel line I'd left over from another project, a couple of Jubilee clips, so there should be no leaks there now. To sort out the other end of the throttle cable, we need to undo these screws, and we need to remove the nuts from the back, and then that should make that assembly come apart. I've taken the throttle grip off, and there is some damage there, so you can see that large hole in the middle. That's where the sort of cleat on the end of the throttle cable goes into. When you view that from above, you can see that part of the guide tube, or guide rail, or whatever piece you want to call it, snapped off. I think it'll still work if I put the end of the throttle cable sort of behind here. I think that'll still work. So let's try putting that together and see how it looks. So that's with the throttle cable in where I'm proposing to put it. I've got the adjuster on the back set to a pretty minimal value to compensate for any stretch of the cable I might get in the future. I'm going to put that back together and put it back on the handlebars. Give it a go, just see how it feels really, see if it's springing and returning freely. If it works, then we'll leave it as that. So the throttle assembly's back on. Seems to work alright. Nice positive spring action to it. Good free movement, so I think that's fixed. The next job to do is to get the back wheel off so I can change the tyre. I think the caliper will pivot out the way if I undo the nut down there. I should be able to lift that up out the way, take that nut off there, remove the spindle out that end, and then it'll just be a case of removing the chain from the sprocket, and then the whole wheel assembly should come off, which will then allow me to put the new tyre on. Taking the caliper off, in the end I had to disconnect it from the plate which holds onto the swing arm. Just didn't seem to want to come off any other way, which is fine. The nut's undone from the spindle, so should be a case of just pulling the spindle out now and the wheel should come off. So there we are, the spindle's out with the chain adjuster and the wheel spacer. Again, we've got the spacer and the adjuster on the other side as well as the nut. And this should just be a case now of just pulling this off the chain. There we are. And wheel and tyre are off. Yeah, I think that has seen better days. So let's go over to the workbench now and think about changing this tyre. So removing the tyre, I'm guessing it's just the same as any other sort of push bike, road bike, mountain bike sort of thing. I know there's a nut here on the tyre valve, so we need to loosen that off. And then it should just be a case of prising the bead of the tyre off the rim. It would help if you have some tyre levers or tyre irons. I haven't got that, I've got a couple of crowbars. I'm going to give that a go. Hopefully prise it over the edge. Unfortunately it's a two-handed job, so I can't actually show you me doing it live. But I'll show you in my next clip, hopefully the bead off half of the tyre. The tyre is off. Took some getting off. In the end I had to sort of, because this was so knackered anyway, I just ended up cutting the nylon and cutting the steel band there to break the to get the bead over the rim. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing it with two crowbars. I'd recommend you just take it to a tyre place and get them to do it. It does damage the rim a bit, but I'm not too fussed about that. As for the wheel as well, I'm not 100% sure about that. It seems to be the spokes are quite loose. Guessing when the inner tube's in there, it's going to put some pressure on that and it's not going to move around too much. But first job I'm going to do now is I'm going to run some tape just on the inside of this tyre, just to protect the new inner tube from the ends of these spokes, so it doesn't get punctured on the inside. And then we'll see about fitting the new tyre to the rim. This is the new tyre. 12-inch rim. This one is an 80/112. The old one was a 3.0012. That means it's sort of 3-inch wide, 100% tyre, so 3-inch sidewall height, 12-inch rim. Got it off eBay, £22 I think it was, delivered. Nice knobbly rear tyre with inner tube. So I'm going to attempt to now put this on the rim. Got some washing up liquid to go on to help lubricate the rim, to help get the tyre on, but I think it's going to be quite hard work fitting this on, so let's see how it goes. Well, halfway there, using a variety of different tools. Basically pressed the wheel into it, and I got sort of half of it in, and then just sort of teased it around with the big screwdriver and the crowbar, being careful not to nick the inner tube. So that's in one side. Obviously we've got to do this side next. Just gone around by hand to make sure that there's no the inner tube's not trapped between the tyre and the rim. That's nicely settled inside the dish inside the rim where it's supposed to go. So I guess I'll just work around now and start putting the bead in on this side. There we are, we've got the wheel fully on now. Pressurised it as well, about 30 psi seems to be holding. Wouldn't recommend doing it that way unless you want to damage your rim, but I'm not really that fussed about this bike. Remember to put the little nut on there, that just stops the valve from slipping through. Also as well, I've sorted out the play in the wheel by tightening up the spokes. So now that's not moving, it doesn't have the lateral play in it anymore. So it's just a case of turning the little adjusters on the end of the spokes just to tighten them up, and it seems to have done the job. So right, I'm going to put the dust cap on the valve and then we're going to put this back on the bike. Put the wheel back on the bike. I use my big trolley jack just to jack it up. It's a bit precarious on there, but it seems alright. I put the spindle in and the spacers back in. I was quite lucky actually. These adjusters down here, either side of the swing arm, they allow you to set the chain tension. And I noticed the chain was quite loose when I took the wheel off, so I just put those in a position, and yeah, it's about right straight away, to be honest. The chain is it's tight, but it's not mega tight, so I think that's all right. Also, looking at the side here, how much adjustment I've got in that slotted hole compared to the other side, it looks about right. Possibly a touch less on this side, but I think this swing arm, or this side of the swing arm, is slightly bent. What I have done is I've just turned the wheel by hand, just checking how freely it turns, checking sort of with holding my head in a fixed position, checking what the run out of the wheel is, so how much it's deviating left and right, and it seems about right. The clicking sound you can hear is the chain running around the, I believe it's running around the swing arm pivot there, just catching on it. It's full droop, so that should be alright when it's back on the ground. I need to get the caliper back on, so reverse of removal. I do need to push the pads back in ever so slightly. There is nothing left on those pads pretty much. That's a job for the future. For now I just want to get the bike running, but I'll probably change the pads in the future. I also as well know I need to lubricate the chain before I run it. Yeah, so right, I'm going to push those pads back. I'm hopefully going to do that just using a flat screwdriver, prise them back, drop it back on, bolt it on, and then I will put some oil on the chain. When putting the caliper back on, you've got some adjustment through those two bolts which are slotted, so you just need to ensure that the caliper sits nicely on the disc and the pads are fully covering the disc. I think I've got it just about right there, but obviously I can adjust it in the future if necessary. So I've got the bike back together now. I've lubricated the chain with a bit of chain oil and some WD-40, filled it up with petrol, and it starts and runs, which is good news. However, the problem was when I went to turn it off and I found out that the kill switch here suddenly stopped working. So doing a bit of investigations, and yeah, you can see there's a bit of a bodgery going on with the wires. So I need to repair that. I need to solder that back together. Let me just turn the light on so you can see that. Yeah, need to solder those wires back together and heat shrink them. When I had it running, I touched those two together, two green wires, and it did operate the kill switch, kill the engine. So I just need to get that doing, and I think she's then ready for riding. So that's with the bike back together and the kill switch fixed, and the bike running, so it sounds alright. Throttle works fine. Good, and then we'll just test the kill switch. There we are, killed, so that's nice and safe now. So I think I'll end the video there. Thanks for watching, hope you've enjoyed it. I'll do some subsequent videos of me learning to ride it, because I can't actually ride a motorbike. Sounded like a good idea at the time getting this, but yeah, I'm going to learn how to ride it. And say that'll come in subsequent videos. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to stay tuned for more videos, and remember to follow us on Instagram.